Hi there, it's Nicole for Hero Arts today, and I have a card for the Launch Party Blog Hop. This is a Christmas card featuring a fun, sketchy Christmas tree with some greetings here stamped and embossed below. I'm going to do a resist technique using this great Arts pen and ink tree stamp. I have a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock here, and I've inked up my stamp with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to stamp that right there on the watercolor cardstock and sprinkle on some white embossing powder. I'm going to heat set this, and then I'm going to do the ink smushing technique that I've seen Christina Warner and Laura Basson do. And I'm going to start with a little bit of Evergreen Bow ink. I just pressed it on my craft sheet, spritzed it a couple times. I'm going to pick up the ink with a piece of acetate and then press it onto my project. And where I stamped and embossed that tree, it's going to resist the ink. I'm using a little peacock feathers here. What I like about this technique is you get that really great kind of randomness to the watercolor, but it's still, it doesn't run all over the place. It gives you a little bit of control. The last color I'm going to use is a little bit of Bundled Sage. And I'm going to kind of press that into a couple of places that I feel is maybe missing a little ink. And I haven't cleaned up any of my ink because I thought I might need to fill some in. So I am going to fill in a couple of little areas along the sides, just to get it filled in nicely. And then I'm going to let this sit and dry completely. When it's dry completely, I'm going to take a dry cloth and wipe off any excess ink that might be pooled or sitting up on top of that Christmas tree. I'm also going to take my powder tool and reapply some powder underneath the tree. And then I will be stamping the script greeting Merry Christmas from the Joy to the World stamp set. Just going to stamp that right there below the tree. Again, I'm stamping with Versamark ink. And before I stamp the rest of the greetings, I am going to go ahead and apply some gold embossing powder so that I make sure and don't overlap any of my stamping. I'm going to stamp We Wish You right above it, and then a Happy New Year right below the word Christmas. That's going to give me a really awesome bold greeting on what is really, it looks like a very simple card. It has just a few steps. It's really actually very easy to create. I'll go ahead and heat set that. Now I felt like it needed a little bit more going on at the top of the card. I wanted to bring in a little bit more of that gold embossing that I had for the greeting. I'm going to take some of these stars and the little mini heart from the same Joy to the World stamp set that the greeting came from. And I'm going to stamp these kind of all over around the tree and then emboss those. I did quite a few of these. I at first kind of thought I might do them at a diagonal, and then I thought no, I wanted to fill it in a little bit more, and I ended up really kind of filling in all around the tree. I did make sure to go ahead and sprinkle on that embossing powder after I stamped each image, simply because I didn't want to overlap anything, and this way I could kind of see where I had been already. And then after I got all of these little teeny tiny confetti type images stamped and the powder sprinkled on, I heat embossed the whole thing. So I'll continue to add all of these until I get it filled in, and then I will heat set that. And I'm going to finish the card with some sequins here in just a little bit. I think they add that perfect finishing touch. Now I did trim down this background panel about 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch on each side, all 4 sides. That way that it's going to leave a nice little border for my card base that I place this card on. And it trimmed up some of those edges that maybe are the sides that didn't look quite as nice as the rest of the card. The powder tool helps the embossing powder to stick only to where you have actually stamped, and it doesn't migrate and stick to any other areas of the card. You do want to make sure your watercolored background is all the way dry. Now, because it's watercolor paper and it can warp a little bit because I didn't tape it down when I watercolored, I covered the entire back panel with foam adhesive. I wanted it raised up a little bit. You could use just a really strong adhesive if you didn't want to have that dimension there on your card base and wanted it to lay flat. All of that foam adhesive is going to make this dimensional panel lay really nice and flat on my card base. Now I'm using a little glossy accents here to glue some pretty pink posh sparkling clear sequins in both the 4mm and 6mm size in place. These are my favorite color of sequins. They go with everything, and I think with all of the watercolor and then all of the gold, they add just a little something to the card, but don't overpower the stamped design at all. They add just enough sparkle to really add to that whole confetti look and give a little dimension where everything else is fairly flat, and they finish off the card nicely. I hope you've enjoyed this video featuring Hero Arts stamps for the Hero Arts Launch Party blog hop. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.